Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas, motherfuckers. We make videos on Christmas, and we're going to be talking about The Predator. No, I'm not talking about Pat Barry. No, I'm not talking about Mozvar Evloev. No, I'm not talking about Jeffrey Epstein. I'm talking about the man who fumbled the fucking bag. Should have fought Jake Paul. Should have boxed Jake Paul. Should have been fighting. What is he doing with his career, man? At the very least, needs to fight Vadim Nemkov. But he's probably not going to even do that. He's probably not going to be fighting in PFL ever again. He's going to be looking for one big boxing payday. The problem child is right there. Why'd you not take that fight? I swear to God, he's so stupid. Like, he's lucky, but he's stupid. He left the UFC to pursue the big boxing paydays, and he got them. But he could have gotten another one, but he fumbled the Jake Paul fight for reasons unknown. But it is what it is. I don't know what France is going to do next. He should at least fight Nemkov in Africa, and then who knows? He'll be 40. But let's just imagine and fantasize for a moment that a prime Francis Ngannou, right after the second Miocic fight, he was like 35, 34 years old, who knows how to defend takedowns. What does he look like in this heavyweight division going into 2026? Does he knock out all these guys like he did back then? There's some new names. I would have loved to see a Sergey Pavlovich that wasn't shy with his fists. You know, a Sergey Pavlovich before he fought Tom Aspinall versus Francis Ngannou. That would have been a great fight. But what about Tom Aspinall himself? That's the real reason why we're here. I'm here to tell you that Francis Ngannou, I mean, he is the most scariest, most devastating puncher in the entire UFC's history, is he not? You could argue Derek Lewis is scarier because he's got more knockouts. He's the KO king. But Derek Lewis has certain weaknesses that Francis didn't have. Derek Lewis he's fatter. And because he's fatter, he kind of gasses himself out. And I'm not saying, like, Francis obviously gassed out in that Cyril Gane fight towards the later rounds. But I mean, who isn't at heavyweight? And yes, Derek Lewis beat Francis in a 3-round fight where nothing happened. One of the worst fights of all time because both guys were terrified of each other, as they should be. Any slight mistake that you make there, you're going to get brutally knocked out. But I think Francis is the scariest heavyweight in the UFC. You look at past UFC champions, you cannot with a straight face tell me that Stipe Miocic is scarier. Stipe did not have the knockout power. Brock Lesnar, he was scary, but not scarier than Francis. If Francis and Brock fought, Brock is getting knocked out, okay? He just is. Some other heavyweight champions, Fabricio Verdum gets knocked out. Cain Velasquez, I would have loved to see a prime Cain Velasquez up against Francis. But no, like, Francis is the scariest guy. So how would he do up against Tom Aspinall, knowing this fact? I hate to say it, but he chins Tom. He brutally chins Tom. That big, giant English chin goes down, and there's going to be a vicious ground and pound shot to follow it up before Herb Dean has time to run and stop the fight. It'll be similar to Stipe Miocic. It'll be similar to Francis Ngannou, his debut fight against Luis Enrique and all these other guys. Like, we think of the JDS knockout, the Velasquez knockout, the Overeem knockout was beautiful. These were knockouts against guys that were like washed up old men at that point that had a lot of injuries, a lot of wear and tear. Tom doesn't have that yet. And Tom does have the speed, and with that speed comes a unique type of power to chin him. Like, if you were to argue with me that Tom chins Ngannou, fine. I could accept that because it is heavyweight and heavyweights have the most knockout power, fine, whatever. But we've seen Aspinall take big shots from Pavlovich. He took a big giant left hook. He ate it. He does have a decent chin. But I think Ngannou hits harder than Pavlovich. We saw Tom take shots from Arlovsky. He keeps his chin out, man. In the second Curtis Blades fight, he got tagged with some inside shots that didn't land flush, but if they did, it would have dropped him bad. As he's coming in, he's very aggressive as he's coming in. His chin's wide up. Cyril Gane doesn't have that knockout power, as we saw briefly in their fight, but he was tagging him. Gave Tom a bloody nose before the double eye pokes. So, if I have to pick between Tom and Francis, unfortunately, I am picking Francis. Even though Tom, and I say unfortunately because Tom has more technique. He is a more well-rounded fighter. He's been grappling with his dad since he was a little boy. He should be the mixed martial artist to win in that matchup. But the power, the fast twitch muscle, the West African genetics, they would be too much. They would be too much. There would be some cases that Tom would win. Like, if they were to fight 10 times, Tom probably wins like 3 of those times. But, no. I would pick Francis. What about these other guys? Cyril Gane, I'm not talking about Cyril Gane. He doesn't deserve to be talked about because he's a fraud cheater. And Francis already beat him once. Alexander Volkov. Sad we never got to see that fight. Volkov's only been chinned once that I can remember, and it was the Derek Lewis fight, and that was in the undercard, or no, it was in the main card with Khabib versus McGregor, one of the first UFC cards I ever watched in full, as I was getting into the UFC back in 2017, 2018. I'd love to see this one. Volkov's got the reach, the length. He could pick apart Francis with the jabs and the kicks, but I just see him getting chinned in similar fashion to Lewis. Those overhand rights are going to be there. I don't care how tall he is. He's like 6'8", doesn't matter. We just saw Francis destroy 6'8" Renan Ferreira like it was nothing. Like, honestly, the way I see it is that in the Rosenstrike fight, when Francis literally just came in and started swinging wildly, like Crash Bandicoot, eventually landing a left hook and just chinning Rosenstrike, a similar way that Volkov gets knocked out. He doesn't really stand much of a chance. What about Pavlovich? Remember, pre-Tom Aspinall fight, Pavlovich was known as White Ngannou, the scary vanilla gorilla. Sergey Pavlovich, no more. We have a shy Pavlovich. We have an incel Pavlovich that doesn't approach women in public because he doesn't have confidence anymore. Doesn't have confidence in his punches. All these fights that he's got, who'd he fight? He fought Rosenstrike, did nothing. He fought Waldo. He had like one good shot in that entire fight. And it looked like he wobbled Waldo, but Waldo was faking it, doing salsa, as his nickname implies. And then that was it. Who knows who he's going to fight next? But this current Pavlovich gets chinned by Ngannou. But the other Pavlovich, Vanilla Gorilla Pavlovich, up against Francis, I would say that's like a 50-50 fight because Pavlovich does have orangutan arms. He's got an 84-inch arm reach, similar to the Demon, who shall not be named. And no, I'm not bringing up the Demon in this video, even though he is a heavyweight. He ducked Tom. He doesn't deserve to have his name in my video. He is a demon. He is a heretic. But that pre-Tom Sergey Pavlovich, yeah, it could pose problems. Pavlovich, he had a long jab, and he had this weird shovel uppercut that would catch people unexpectedly. The question is, seeing Francis KO'd in the octagon is a weird sight that we have never seen before. We saw what AJ did to him, but that's a boxing ring. It's weird to imagine Francis and his knockout face of what it would look like in the UFC or in the PFL or in any mixed martial arts promotion. I can't imagine it. I would still give it to Francis over Pavlovich. Curtis Blades, we saw that fight twice. And one of those fights, I think it was the first one, it was stopped too early. I think that was the one in China or in Singapore, one of those countries. Yeah, I kind of wish the referee didn't stop it, but Curtis Blades always has a tendency to be chinned by very powerful punchers. Waldo Cortez Acosta. I know black, I Dominican. I'm Dominican, papi. How would Waldo do against Francis? Waldo, okay, he knocks out Ante Delija, great. He knocks out the Dagestani diabetic Shamil the Blob Gaziev in brutal fashion, great. But the big test for him, and I know Derek Lewis is old, I know he's 40, but power's the last thing to go. If he knocks out Derek Lewis, faceplant KO, then I'm all in on the Waldo hype train. Waldo is going to be our new Ngannou at that point. We're going to have a new, bye-bye Sergey, bye-bye Francis. We're going to have a new Ngannou at that point. Waldo Cortez Acosta, who does not claim his African heritage, who pretends that he is a white man. Waldo pretends that he has the same skin complexion as Sergey Pavlovich, the vanilla gorilla. If Waldo knocks out Derek Lewis, then I will give Waldo a 50-50 chance against the Predator Ngannou. Because these big power punches, and look, I thought Waldo was like 6'2". I thought he was frauding his height. He's listed as 6'4", but I thought he was 6'2". No, he's actually 6'4". A 6'4" Dominican? What a rare specimen. Dominicans don't get that big, but he is. I measured his height with Delija, with Gaziev. Gaziev's legit like 6'3", 6'4", around there. He's really big. Very scary looking now because of his knockouts. We're going to see. I think that fight with Lewis is in UFC 324. It's happening early in 26, so we're going to see what happens. But I'm on the Waldo hype train if he schlumps Lewis. You know, Tai Tuivasa slumped Lewis with the elbow. It wasn't a super satisfying knockout. Because we've never seen Lewis get knocked out by an actual punch. Or I think Matt Mitrione was also an elbow, I think. So, we'll see. Jalen Almeida. Does Jalen Almeida out-grapple and smother Francis Ngannou? Keep in mind, there's a prime Francis who knows how to defend some takedowns, at least lazy takedowns against Stipe. But Jalen Almeida's relentless. And let's imagine there's a 5-round championship fight. So he's not just going to lay on him for 3 rounds. You'd have to do it for 5, which he can do that, as he did against Derek Lewis. I'm scared that he would actually have success. I'm scared that Jalen Almeida probably could beat a prime Francis as long as he doesn't get uppercut or elbowed on the side of the head like he did against Curtis Blades if he fails a takedown. The thing is that these big guys, like he did it against Blades, he did it against Lewis, and he did it against Volkov. The big guys that are heavy, that max out at 265 and are probably like 280 on fight night, he has a hard time finishing them. And Francis would be one of those guys. So it would probably be a really boring fight where he lays on top of him, saps all of Francis's energy, and as the rounds go by, Francis doesn't have any energy to throw any big shots, and Almeida, the lizard man, the fucking disgusting abomination, wins on points. Sadly. I don't want to see Jalen Almeida ever again. They cut all these heavyweights. They cut Martin Buday, who was on a 6-fight win streak in the UFC. But they don't cut Jalen Almeida for his horrible performances. Should have cut him immediately after that Volkov performance. Was embarrassing. Was shameful. Sergey Spivak. Okay, here we're getting into like some heavyweights that, you know, get chinned often. Spivak gets chinned. I don't care about the grappling threat. Spivak gets brutally chinned. Go rewatch that exchange between Spivak and Almeida. Almeida threw like one shot and it landed on Spivak's like collarbone, and Spivak gets wobbled and he gets scared and he gets finished. No, Spivak doesn't have any chin. Gets brutally knocked out by the Predator. Derek Lewis, we've already seen that. Nothing happened. What about a 5-round championship fight? Would something happen then? Probably not. They're terrifying. Two terrifying power punchers going up against each other. They're not going to throw shit. They're not. Delija probably gets chinned. If Francis lands a big right hand like Waldo does and it lands on Delija's face, he's going down. I don't care about Ante Delija anymore. Don't care. Tybura. Did we see that fight? No, we didn't. We never saw Tybura versus Francis. We saw Derek Lewis versus Tybura, and he knocked him out. I think Tybura gets knocked out as well. Yeah. Gaziev gets knocked out. Tuivasa's got some power, but he's on a 5-fight losing streak. Looking shit. He gets knocked out by the Predator. Mick Parkin. We haven't seen Mick Parkin that often. If you have to pick between a plotty, fat tub of milk like Mick Parkin versus a West African genetic specimen whose body looks like a Greek statue, who are you going to pick? You're going to pick Francis, okay? I'm going to pick Francis. Now, Walter Walker, that's interesting. That I don't know. Because Walter Walker is so unique. Because of the heel hooks. Could Walter Walker come in and heel hook Francis? He could probably do it to anybody. You don't know. He's done it 4 times in a row now. Whoever he's going to fight next, he will probably do it to them. I'm not going to pretend that Francis has anti-submission skills that are going to negate Walter Walker's heel hooks. I'm not. So that one, we've never seen Walter Walker knocked out either, right? Maybe in the regional scene, I'd have to look at his record, but not in the UFC. He only lost to Brzeski, and that was because he was like really fat and out of shape, and he wasn't prepared. So, yeah, Walter Walker, that would be scary for Francis, just because of the heel hook. Taliesin Teixeira, I'm not hyped for Taliesin Teixeira anymore. He's fighting Ty, and he knocked out, what was his name? One of the Tafa, Justin Tafa, who was Samoan, similar to Ty. So I think Taliesin probably will knock out Ty. I'm not hyped up on Ty either. But go rewatch his Dana White Contender Series fight against Arthur Lopez. Dude has no defense, horrible head movement, just embarrassing. I don't care if he's 6'7", 6'8", doesn't matter. Gets brutally knocked out and chinned by Francis Ngannou. What about some other heavyweights? Because I got to use the UFC website. My other website, MMAWorldRankings.com, they shut it down, dude. So I can't even use that website. I love that website. But off the top of my head, I was thinking Steven Asplund. Heavyweight, Holloway. To be honest, too soon. He probably gets chinned, most likely. We need to see more of how Steven Asplund looks against other heavyweight contenders. You beat Sean Sharaf. That's great. We'll see more of you. Mick Park. Oh, I already talked about Mick Parkin. Some other guys. Brando Pericic. We'll see what happens with him. He's looking scary. Legit 6'5", in decent shape. Serbian guy fighting out of Australia. Wins his UFC debut against Elisha Ellison. But we're just going to have to wait and see if Brando Pericic is actually good. Another heavyweight prospect, Mario Pinto. Only had 2 fights in the UFC. Destroys Austin Lane with a beautiful right hook. Who hasn't destroyed Austin Lane? Austin Lane is ass. But then he fights Janad Deniz, who is a step above Austin Lane. Decent heavyweight. No, he's not decent. He loses to Tybura. Right? Yeah. I mean, Tybura is a good gatekeeper. But he's a step above Austin Lane. Beats him, shows the grappling. I think Mario Pinto is a legit prospect. We'll see how far he goes. But I don't think he could beat a Francis Ngannou because he's too young and untested. And there's really not any other heavyweight prospects left, is there? I mean, we already mentioned Steven Asplund. And I know Asplund is like turning into a meme because he's got all the loose skin. But I think Asplund he's going to hit a brick wall, but he will beat up some other guys. Right? I think he could beat up a Mick Parkin, who's ranked 13. I think he could beat Taliesin Teixeira because Taliesin doesn't have head movement. And just the massive amount of output and shots coming his way, he's going to get peppered and probably TKO'd up against the fence. So, yeah. And I can't really think of other heavyweights that would pose a threat to any guys in the top 5, let alone a prime Francis. He really should have never left, man. I mean, we'll see if he fights Vadim Nemkov, but I think it's kind of over for Francis. Like, he wants a big boxing payday. Who's he going to fight in boxing? There were some talks that they were going to do the Chisora fight. And Chisora is always down for a scrap. He doesn't duck anybody. Chisora, he's on a win streak now. Didn't he knock out? He knocked out Joe, or no, he went to decision with Joe Joyce. And I think he knocked out Otto Wallen. They might do that one. But I saw Deontay Wilder facing up with Chisora. But Deontay Wilder says he wants to fight Usyk now. I don't know. I don't know who Francis is going to fight at boxing. And whoever it's going to be, he's going to get knocked out. He's not going to win. Wasted. Absolutely wasted. Let us hope and pray that Tom Aspinall and his father don't go to boxing either, because Tom Aspinall is not going to last in boxing. But he is British, and boxing in Britain is very big, so they might give him something. There are British fighters that would fight a Tom Aspinall and give him a big payday, probably. Not something like Anthony Joshua or something. I think Joshua's kind of done with these kind of fights now. Joshua's going to want to fight Tyson Fury in 2026. And I think that fight is going to happen. But I'm going on a tangent. Merry Christmas, motherfuckers. Go hug your family. I'm here in my fucking dark room, all alone, rotting away. So, hug your families. That's all I got for this video. Subscribe to my channel, motherfuckers. It's the least you can do. Peace out.